Yeah. Okay, so we usually start off the episode with a little clap just so we can sync the cameras. So if you guys do a clap and then I'll do one. Yeah, cool. So welcome back to Unsigned Berlin. This is episode 20. We're here today with Connor and Wouter from CORP, two members of the four-person band. And we will start with a little snippet of I'm Not Cute, I'm Handsome.
You got it.
So that was a snippet of I'm Not Cute, I'm Handsome, part of the EP that came out February, which is a four-track EP with a couple of singles that came before it. It's a big step up from where the band originally came from, which was a bedroom type, Ableton, guitar and vocals. What was the transition for that like for you, kind of moving and trying to find different band members and stuff?
It was kind of fun, kind of Berlin-y style, like trying to find an apartment, trying to find band members. It was all happening at the same time. It was much easier to find band members than I'm not doing though. So I started with Craigslist, and that was I didn't know that was not big here. And so I wanted to play music with people. I'd always played solo before. I actually wanted a drummer first of all to play with, because I was when I was first watching, where I was influenced in Pittsburgh by a few people around me, and there was this one band that was pure Moog analog synthesizer and a drummer, and I was the drummer brought so much action to it.
Yeah.
And so first I met Uli, who's actually now our bassist, but started as just me and him drumming. We played for a bit, and then Rory joined, who's so Uli's from Berlin. No, he's not from Berlin. He lives in Berlin, but he's from, where is he from?
Around Cologne.
And then Rory's from Ireland, and so we met him later. He's our drummer now. He was through Craigslist or Noisy Rooms forums or something like that. Right. And then Wouter, as in the end, were you Noisy Rooms?
Yeah. You were looking for a keyboard player. And I was looking for a band. I had some bands in the Netherlands, right. But then I had a solo project of 2-3 years. Mm-hmm. Then I moved back to Berlin, wanted to have another band, also to meet people, but also just to play in a band again. But the most bands on forums, the most of them were very heavy, metal punk or super folk. Mm-hmm. And I was looking more for something indie, and then they had an effort on there. Also the Noisy Rooms forum, I think. Mm-hmm. But they were looking for a keyboard player, and I do play a bit of synth, but it's not my main instrument or something. But it was let's just shoot them a message, and here we are.
I think you get not like me as well. I would get excited and meet people who just played music that I liked, or if I recognized the bands.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I just saw some references Strokes, I think, and Pocket Chords, and I was that's my jam.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense that most of the listings looking for band members would be more heavy stuff. Because for me personally, I would approach the style of your music from more of a producer aspect of you think of Tame Impala or MGMT, and you're this could be done with a much smaller group. Mm-hmm. Was that an immediate decision where you were I definitely want a band so we can do this live and we can do it big? Or was it...
No,
how was the decision
totally serendipitous, haphazard. It started because, with Uli, I was playing live is such a different thing, mm-hmm. The way that you actually the way I compose tracks specifically for CORP is so much different than what I did in the bedroom. Right. And I actually I just didn't have enough hands to play all this stuff, and that meant that we had to be on the clock to sequence all this stuff if we were going to play with a drummer and a bass player, and then it's I don't I wanted this to be more organic and fun and not that computer
rigid and
and whenever you mess up and everything is sequenced, it's very in your face as well, so it should be fun to like play music, I think, even though sometimes like it's stressful for us, I think, to get things right, because we do still have some stuff that's sequenced and we still like are negotiating what
it worked pretty well.
What are the core instruments like we have to keep in or what not to keep everything fun and also get the point across. But like it's different from the production. Like when you produce something or record something, you can add in all those little like, I don't know, like pads or little fades in between stuff.
Like sound
we
design.
didn't do that a lot though for the EP. We didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, we did it with a click, but we also did it live. Like the instrumentals, we did it live. Most of it, we did some overdubs, but
And this is the change, right?
Yeah.
From what and like he also does the solo stuff, so I think you probably experienced some of the same bits.
Yeah, I mean, my solo stuff is definitely different than yours in the sense of that it's a bit more classic indie pop, 90s influenced, I think. And yours is more like, I don't know, like bedroom shoegazy, a bit more on the alternative side. But yeah, I was also like playing with Ableton and I don't know, also Tame Impala influences, but also like Arctic Monkeys kind of stuff. I mean, you don't hear that, but it's there. But yeah, I mean, definitely it's different to record with people, especially how we did it, which was a bit surprising to me. I didn't know we were going to do it live. I don't think anyone knew it until we were doing it.
Right.
But it was cool.
Yeah. Did you find that a lot easier as well? For me, I find it a lot easier if you're recording a live band where it's like, we'll just do several takes and then we're like done with the recording.
It depends. Like I got used to playing with clicks and just like doing it track by track in the past. Also because I did a lot of solo stuff, so then you really have to be on it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it does add a lot of charm and warmth to the recording, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the first time that I record with a band and it actually sounds like a band in the sense of that you actually can feel the band playing,
And
in the room.
and
that's a vibe I think you can only get when you're doing it live.
No, I'd agree. Yeah.
I like find parts of it good and parts of it like I found it easier. I think it's cool that we can bust out like the tracks, and also like I don't have to sit there deal with the envelopes on my own and like sync everything. Like we had like this like awesome sound engineer Barack that we were working with, and he takes everything and does it. But I think also like giving up the locus of control for me, like being a bedroom musician, like I'm used to like just sitting there playing shit music for a long time, and then one of those shit accidents like sounds awesome and you take like that 0.5 seconds and you just like glue like 10.5 seconds together until you have like a loop. That's like the way some of the tracks work. Of course, not all of them, but I definitely have the live recording was awesome, but it's also weird to like you can't experiment in the same way, because you're also on the clock. You can't take up everyone's time. You're not going to stop your whole band to be like, hey, wait, like can we try this like moved a few cents like every single time, especially when it's like 10 p.m. at night and you guys need to get back. So
still you take it with you though, I think, like unconsciously. The experiences of doing it solo and doing all the production yourself. I mean, it's still in your head somewhere when you're making stuff. Just you don't think about it, but
communicating it onto like the end result of the track. Like I think there's definitely the trade-off between ease and like experimenting. Like it really helped us get tracks out to like record that live and be done and have someone who's like basically like, well, one, we're paying, but two, like we all just have to get this done together. Whereas like, I think every musician knows what it's like to have 100 save files, and it's like, I want to get this perfect, I want this to be like completely matched up. So total trade-offs on both sides. I think together it did really come out where all four of us made something better than individually. I don't know how to say that, but it came out really interesting. That's not exactly one of us, but also a piece of all of us.
It's kind of the point of a band, right? Is to move away from that like really, really pristine personal creative like goal to something that's a collaboration.
Yeah, but it often is not though. I mean, it doesn't happen like that, but I think with us, we actually make songs with the four of us. I mean, we have songs that we bring to the band, like or ideas, sometimes very much kind of done, and sometimes like very basic, like one riff or one melody. But we also just make things out of jamming, which is pretty new to me. I've never really done that. But every time we play with the four of us in a room, like something happens and then we record it, we put it on our drive, and then at some point we start going through it and think, okay, this is cool and let's work with it. So the EP really feels like a kind of joint venture. Especially I'm Not Cute, I'm Handsome, because Many Hours was pretty done for like a big part. I mean, it used to be one of my solo songs, or like I wrote it as a solo artist years ago, and then we took it on with the band and made it a bit different, and it just, was there. And Sleep Seducer was more your invention.
Yeah, and even we definitely have 2 or 3 ways of making songs, but usually I'd say it'd be like Valter or I, because we're like the ones like noodling around on guitar more at home or something, either bring something from home or like from Ableton or whatever that we're messing around with, or it's like a jam that starts like while we're just like bored in between songs and that morphs into something. And I think no matter what, if like we start, so like that second side, usually we build it up all together, we all are jamming, and then it's like, oh, that just makes sense, start that, like I think the classic band way of making songs. And then like when we bring something, it's more like, oh yeah, Rory, who's our drummer, like really he's pretty good at just grooving into anything and like working on a few of those, and Uli as well is just like unreal with that. So we kind of like build it out one at a time. And so yeah, I'm Not Cute, I'm Handsome, I think started as a riff I brought, and then you started adding a riff on top of that.
No, I started the vocal line because we only had one guitar for. I mean, it's actually one guitar, the song, because it's either you playing guitar and I'm not playing guitar, or the other way around live. Okay. But it started with a video of you doing that riff, and then we were just repeating that riff in the rehearsal room. I just started singing like the melody that popped into my head, and then it took pretty long to write it. Yeah. After that, it's a bit atypical because it's a bit bedroom pop-ish in that sense. It's like one sequence that loops and gets like layers on it, and then they, get removed, and then new layers, and it's cool. And we share vocals, which is nice. Yeah,
there's like a call and response song about the kind of like Monopoly man winning Monopoly, and then someone losing it, and this back and forth.
I think we even wrote the lyrics like together.
Yeah, we each took different parts. Like I kind of had to. He did he came up with the vocal line, and then I came up with lyrics, and then he came up with lyrics. So it was really weirdly built, like exactly one of us adding in each side.
It still really feels like one song, which is cool. I think it doesn't feel like just a mashup of random.
It feels a little bit like there's a kernel of a song, and then you're like exploring different parts and then bringing it back. It's cool. Just thinking of the Monopoly Man part, there's a like aura around the band of this like hyper capitalist and like immense profits type thing. Is that something that came before the music, and then the music fits to that, or it came afterwards when you were thinking about image?
I'd say, that was like the CORP, like the initial solo thing I was doing before, and I think I'm like way too influenced by like Fight Club, seeing it at 17, like everyone else who's all high school boys, with too much testosterone. But like I love that kind of cynical, like uber capitalists, and like the duality of all of us. A lot of us have white collar, or like just jobs that are really boring, working for the man. But we also like to do punk music and be DIY and like. So I'd say. The way it influences our stage show much more than like we have like a bunch of banter, and like we're slowly working on like I really want to go for these theatrics, have this like plot go on in the show. It's like we open them with welcome to your employee orientation, and it's like bringing people through like this like you're now in corp kind of thing, and then
it's a weird like pastiche of corporate life.
Exactly. Really intense. Like there's like this intense voice I have on like a vocal changer thing that we do for like the banter. But then I think music-wise it's hard to. It does work for some of our songs. So we have like this song 925, which is all about the 9 to 5, and but it says 925 529 like over again, like getting stuck in that circle of 9 to 5. But then there's other songs like I'm Not Cute, I'm Handsome, which I think kind of happens to relate. But some of these songs I think are just so attached to the lyrics when we make them that you can't not hear those lyrics. And like, you know, it's not really, I don't think it's worth changing the lyrics to like be something a bit more phony feeling. Like, so it fits in a theme as opposed to like, this is what the song spoke to us.
Yeah, but that would be a bit cringy as well, right? Like, we're not a theater group or something. But like that rock song, I mean, we call it rock song. It doesn't have a title yet.
Right.
But that's also a bit in the theme. But that's just because I wrote it and I felt that way, you know? Because we do have those jobs and sometimes you just have a shit day and you write a song, you know? You're just like, what the fuck am I doing, you know? Yeah. So you write a song and then it happens to be in the theme.
Sleep Seducer is not. At all, really. More of the sound is in the theme, I'd say, but that one's purely about you know, like sleep being like this like siren that's always like telling you like you don't want to go to sleep but you have to, and it's always like tricking you into falling asleep, or like she is tricking you into falling asleep kind of thing.
Yeah, okay.
And so that's you know, unrelated.
But the whole artsy thing, I mean, it's more your side and also Rory's. I think you two have the most visual kind of imagination there. I've never really done that, like the whole branding stuff with the band, but it really works. Yeah, you know, I just follow their ideas basically, and sometimes I have one, but not too often.
It makes it fun though.
It makes it fun for people, and people keep coming back as well. Yeah, because it's a bit goofy sometimes. It's funny, like we don't take it too seriously as well.
A little bit Talking Heads-esque in the like suits, this kind of like...
Yeah, I watched some David Byrne. Is it Byrne?
Yeah.
Byrne? Yeah. And that's obviously way better, but that I can see. I mean,
he's got the budget though. At the time where we're
and
seeing
the time. That's like when you're thinking of it,
and the brain.
Like 10, 12 years into his career.
Yeah.
So it's like he's practiced.
But it's not a big influence on my music, Talking Heads, but it's on you, I think. Yeah, and you can hear that. Like
aesthetically, I really see it.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that quirky shit. Like that's like my whole MO. Like I love that. And I like the theatrics of like, I just like having fun too. And it is more fun to do like a character and do a show than like, there's enough bands that are trying to be cool and don't say anything, you know, and you just don't get anything out of it. Of course, the music is really cool. And I think ideally you want your music to speak for you as well. But also like a show is to go and have fun when you come down to it. In the end. And so for both us and the audience, I think like it's a really fun and like memorable thing.
Yeah.
So lots of weird shit.
There are enough bands with leather jackets and black t-shirts. I mean, I used to be like that. You know?
It's graduated.
Feels cool, but
no, it's definitely also what like stuck in my mind, because we get people reach out, and there's a lot of people that reach out with really good music, but it was definitely like the aesthetics that stuck out to me, and I kept remembering being like, oh yeah, cool. Nice. And also the name fits in very like comfortably.
Nice. It's I like the name, but man, is it not easy to find us on Spotify.
I find just a search worked. But Apple Music, it came up with other stuff, whereas like CORP but it wasn't
too amazing. Like that means we're getting up in the search results, because that is a new thing. I always have to search Sleep Seducer because that seems to be a new thing. People don't.
I'm not cute, I'm handsome. It's just too tedious to type that in.
Well, for a long time it wasn't called that too. I still have the old name.
Cute Song.
It was just called Cute Song for a long time.
I like the new title.
Yeah, it's much better.
I mean, we had it for another recording, right? I'm Not Cute, I'm Handsome. There's still something on a drive called that.
So it's hard to get rid of it. Basically, the dot Ableton file in my head.
We always have the working titles like Rock Song, Cute Song, Joy Division Song, and then we have to figure out a name.
Yeah. It can write itself, of course. You know, if you write the lyrics, but like sometimes
pick
it's like
2 words from the chorus. There you go.
Exactly. That you had developed when you were looking for band members, how much has that changed with the influence from the other guys?
Sorry, what was that?
The CORP idea.
Aesthetic? Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it's changed. The band, like, no matter what, the more people you bring into anything, it's like not you making all the decisions anymore about any part of it. So like our music is much more of like, you know, all of our styles mix, where I'd say, as Wouter already said, like I like I would say I skew bedroom pop and like a certain style of indie pop, and he skews more probably indie rock, a different style of indie pop as well. So it's somewhere in the middle that we meet musically, and also it's much more I think live and like jam focused.
Right.
So like as I said, I wasn't writing. Before I was writing just to make the recording, right? But now we have to think like, what am I going to play for this? And so I think it's a little more organic, the sound in the end too.
Yeah, and for aesthetics, I love the EP cover, just like the drawn. It's not doodle's the wrong word, but it's like very hand drawn style. Did you guys bring in a graphic designer for that, or did one of you do it?
We have a lot of good creative friends.
Definitely not us.
No, we can't. I mean, I can't do any. I never have ideas about artworks.
I got loads of ideas, but these don't work to make the result. That was our friend Emer, actually one of Rory's friends, and she did an amazing job with that. So we had like 3 or 4 different things that we went back and forth on in this kind of 2D white and muted colors. Like it's kind of 1970s, but kind of toony as well. So we're super happy with how
she does a lot of the posters too, right?
Yeah, she's done one of those posters for us, and then Izzy did.
Oh yeah, true.
We have a few different styles of poster friends as well, mostly Rory's.
All of them basically.
Rory just knows everyone. Like whoever's watching this probably knows Rory. So at least there's 1 degree away from Rory. So I think we're still it's still early days on the aesthetic itself, and that's something I would love to keep putting more time in and like grow that into even like a look as well as like when you see a Parquet Courts cover, you know it's a Parquet Courts cover kind of thing. So I'd like to do that, and I'd like to bring that into like the visuals on our show as well, and like have stuff projected on us and have this feel.
We did that on the EP release. That was amazing. We had like in Loophole the front room, which is the bar. We had videos of our tour in summer projected, and then
interspliced in with like 1970s office, like just random office B-roll.
Like a loop of 45 minutes, and it was really fun for me as well to get a beer and then see our adventures. We played in Amsterdam and we played in Paris, like some little festivals, and you can just see us like.
It was cute, but also like officey. It was a fun one.
Just weird.
And then for our set, we actually like projected onto us like this. If you know what liminal spaces are, it's like they call it like the back rooms. Like there's like projected this like tour through the back rooms on top of us, which is like a little more creepy, but like still obviously not super creepy. And so that's that was the vibe.
No, yeah, that's exactly what I liked about the cover was the 70s officey type of feel where it's like it again plays in with the whole CORP aesthetic and was kind of fun, but also like a little has that kind of almost negative connotation of like, oh, I gotta go in. It's like 7:30. Why am I awake for this stupid job I don't care about type of feeling?
Yeah, that's like exactly what I want to go for. Like angrily dancing because like you still need to dance, but you're like frustrated.
Cathartic.
Yeah, like with what you have, and like I think that's like something that a lot of people can actually like resonate with. Just like this, like a little like living this just like kind of ironic life of like being frustrated with what they do, but also like having fun. And so
it's a bit over dramatized, of course, and we like it's always for us a bit of a slippery slope of not being too cynical or because then it becomes a bit cliche or like The Office, like the series.
I'm 14 and this is deep, like
yeah, exactly. But I think this is a bit of the sweet spot where we are now.
Yeah. I want to push it. I want to push it even farther.
I know.
Plot,
I'm open for that as well.
Full plot, like have like a love interest come up. Someone gets shot on the stage, and
I mean, we can talk about that. Like I do want to smash the printer. Like
we got a bunch of like lots of office equipment are like just freely scattered around Berlin that you just pick up and.
I don't want the coffee cups with that on it.
Oh yeah,
that would be cool.
We want to make this
sip our beer from that on stage.
Have like a number one boss or like some sort of, probably not that, but some sort of mug instead of like the normal band t-shirt that you can drink out of. And like we drink our beers out of on stage as well.
And you can have it in the office. Sort of tongue in cheek like
exactly.
that. Yeah, I feel like that sentiment also resonates a lot with some parts of Berlin. And do you feel like your identity is very tied to the city, or do you see it kind of moving somewhere else when you can?
We're all like very international, I think.
Yeah.
And so we have pieces of, I think, all of our homes in the band, but also like Berlin has really been like where we're becoming something and like came together.
Yeah.
And like I think like really being like a no limits kind of like trying to put no limits on art and being like very open to like, you know, it's been, I think Berlin's a great city for getting shows and like booking gigs compared to the cities we've been in, where you have to like pay to play or like, you know, do all this like jump through hoops or know someone. And Berlin's been super open to us for that. And I think like really pushing the limits with like art and seeing other people around us who are doing that as well, as opposed to being like, if you didn't have that, I feel like you would think you'd be more derivative or something and still think you're like doing more than people around you. So like the people around you, I think definitely influence you.
Yeah.
It's cliche in the end, but yeah.
Yeah. And I think even though I think some people dislike it, a large part of Berlin's identity is that most people aren't from here. It's like a very international and kind of everyone just trying to figure it out, and this is where we happen to be.
It's a great base, I think. I mean, we're definitely trying to get out of it a bit as well, every now and then. I think that's healthy in general because it's a bit of an island, but also when playing music, I mean, we've done it like playing in July, August, September, October and November in Berlin. I mean, and it still worked. I was very scared of people just not showing up at some point, but they did. But we can't keep doing that, you know. So we're trying to do like other German cities as well, because Germany is in general like a very good cultural market, and there are loads of nice cities to play.
We did a lovely tour though last year. That was like definitely like highlight, like bucket list kind of tour with a band thing, which I've never done. We went to, what did we do? We played Berlin, right?
Yeah,
and then we went to Lakeside Festival, which is like
Brandenburg, Poland, almost.
Yeah, almost Poland. It's like 2 hours to the east, like a little movie festival put on by Mobile Kino. And then we went and played Café Paradiso in Amsterdam. And like, yeah, massive road trip, loads of fun, really nice to change it up as well.
It felt legit, to do that.
In the van.
And we went to Paris, which is super cool.
Paris was in there as well.
How is that for trying to organize that and just so many moving pieces?
I mean, Paris we had a contact there through a label that Uli knows. So the gig was booked pretty, I mean, it took some time, but it was doable.
Yeah.
And we just wanted an adventure, basically. I mean, that's also why we're in the band, you know, just to have a good time now, instead of only thinking about where we want to be in 2 years, but also just to have fun and feel like a band, basically.
Yeah.
And Amsterdam was, I'm from the Netherlands, so and I've been playing there for years, like in the Netherlands, and it's not super big, so then you know people. So yeah, we got that one in, and that was very cool for me as well, to, you know, friends and family coming there, which was fun. And the festival was a friend of you, right?
That was Ben.
Yeah,
my friend Ben hooked us up with that one. He was like curating the music. But I think, like to negotiate it, I think it's actually like pretty doable to find gigs. Like we're at the point where we've definitely got like a bit of like a portfolio, if you call it that, like on the Instagram, and people see the plays that like like we can get people to like be like wanting to play with us. But like the way that like we see it, and we've been burned by this before, where you go somewhere and you're like, oh, there's not much promotion, and the other band is also not from there, or if there's no band,
it was only Paris though.
Like it was only Paris, but like if no one's gonna come if they don't, if people don't go to that venue normally for music, right? So you have to we've learned that it's better, like we want to really be paired with a band who knows, like who has like a local scene, or play at a place that just has like people coming to it. So, but I mean, it was still fun. Paris was still a blast, but it
got saved by the football hooligans, right? I mean, we were it was the same day as the Champions League final.
Great.
So we were in that place, and it was pretty cute, like at the canal there, and the upstairs room, that's where the final was being shown on a beamer, and it was packed.
It was like an old man pub though.
We were playing in the basement, but the basement was pretty okay.
That actually looked kind of punk, which didn't match the big Kneipe vibe at the top.
It was super small, but was perfect for us. But like the first 3-4 songs, there were like a couple of friends from me from Paris and his girlfriend, you know, like 5 people there. I was like, fucking hell, what are we doing here, you know?
Yeah.
But then that match ended and people got drunk, like especially the English, and they came from the stadium actually, and they just turned up there and they heard music, came down, and suddenly there were like 30, 40, I don't know how many it were, but like quite a few football fans just having a mosh pit. And
already warmed up, I guess.
So we kept playing, and like they lost the game, so they were a bit frustrated and super drunk.
Madness! Like this, the band before us played, and they were like had beautiful like layered vocal sounds, and it was chill. Then we started
Ronnie's
playing.
Visit.
Yeah, Ronnie's Visit. Yeah, they're from I think west of France, somewhere Normandy.
Rouen.
Yeah. And then we started playing. There wasn't too many people. The sound was like, there barely was any sound set up for us. But then the footballers started coming down, and they were going a bit mad because, of course, they were steamed. And like I have this like like halfway through the set, one of my visceral 2-second memories that always comes back, and it's like the strobe lights kind of going, and just like look at this guy, and there's like this like easily 45-year-old dude just bleeding down the face in a football jersey, and he grabs me, and like I have to run back on stage because I have to sing no more. And I'm like let go of me, and just like, throw him off. And it was just such a like psycho.
He lost it completely there.
Yeah, he got slapped. He was getting slapped a bunch in the end of the night. Actually, if you listen to our song Intro, that's a lot of that is.
You're telling him not to fight a drummer.
Don't fight Rory. Fight his friends. 'Cause of course, like 2 random dudes from the footballers came and knew Rory through a friend, and it was like the guy knows everyone.
Super random though. Like in the middle of Paris, he just met some friends from Ireland who were there by accident.
Yeah, and then they started like getting in a fight with this guy in the middle of the street and like full blown slapping him. It was crazy. But good times.
So that's what you want from, I feel like, for a first tour. You're like, let's just go have some fun.
I mean, that's the biggest reason we did it, really.
Yeah.
And still, that's the biggest reason we do it. Like I think you're doing most of like the marketing. I do most of the shows booking, like with help of everyone's connections, of course. But I more like doing the emails and stuff. But we're just picking out cities we want to go to. Like
it is nice, kind of like shopping around. But it helps to like I think our like recipe for it now is like I'd say if I went there, like find a bar that's cool or that we know looks cool. Go through their Instagram or something, see if we can find like a band that like sounds like us or like is from there, and be like, hey, you guys want to play? Like we'll set up the night, come play with us here. And like if you can go and like say like come back to the bar and be like, can we do this? Or like can we just like we'll take over your night for you and like you charge whatever, we'll fill up the house. Like we actually really basically organize all of our own stuff. Like no one's gonna do it for you. Most of us, like usually it's us most often organizing like a full night of like 2 to 4 bands and then 1 to 2 DJs and like and that'd be after and like stay up for the night depending on what the place is. So that helps. That's like a good tip. Like just book the whole night instead of like trying to find like a slot.
Especially with 4 people, with 4 different groups of friends, you know? Yeah. You don't need to bring that many people in to fill a small room. And it's super fun, like to curate your own kind of nights. Yeah. I mean, it only works in Berlin. I mean, we're trying to do it now as well in other cities. But of course, then we also have to rely a bit on friends we have there. And basically also on natural crowds, you know, then you want to play at venues that are known for having bands, so people just go there to see bands.
Should then harder to get into as well.
I mean, that's how we go to Loophole, for example, Madame Claude or something. Bring the Zect. I mean, just because we know there are bands there, so like then you go there and you just see something random. Yeah. And you need that as well. Yeah.
And then were you, for the full tour, were you just piling into a van and seeing, like, and driving between places?
Yeah.
Uli is the responsible adult. Yeah, he's the Bipper. The car's called the Bipper. And we got in there and shared the driving responsibilities. Just lots and lots of driving.
You remember that, like, the moment I was already to, like, Amsterdam, horrible city, you know? That's what I was like making jokes about. It's a bit of a football-related story as well. So, like, we drive into Amsterdam. I'm driving into Amsterdam, and, like, after 5 minutes, we get pulled over by the cops because I was driving on the tram rails and we had like documents from Paradiso like in our window that we were allowed to drive on the tram rails, but that only counted for the day we actually played the venue, and only on that specific tram rails, which made total sense, but we were just abusing it, you know, to cross.
Thank God he was Dutch. Like I would not have been able.
Opposite.
Like they were so mean as well. Like
yeah, they had no time for it. They were like ready to call, like to fine us and whatnot. So
I was thinking the opposite, as in the rest of you guys aren't Dutch, so you could be like, oh, sorry, we don't speak.
Yeah, I mean they had the German. We have a German like plate, so they were a bit surprised that I started talking to them in Dutch.
Yeah, no, that's like, I guess that's the best part of touring, because I feel like there's a mixed, from the musician standpoint, there's a mixed opinion on whether you enjoy it or not. But definitely like trying to get just having fun and having very low expectations.
I'm just thinking about that place we stayed in Paris as well. Like from the booking organization, super kind. We could use his apartment, but apartments in Paris are super small.
Right.
Because otherwise you pay like, I don't know how much, but more than in Berlin.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, we just stayed there with like 4 people. And normally it was already small for one. like, but that whole experience, that's also what, you know, a bit of the charm of it, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool apartment. Very loft two level thing.
Yeah,
like as a Ratatouille. Like I mean, no, like not like well done loft. Like more like they just didn't have the space, so they did like they fit as much platforms in as they could.
Super random.
Yeah.
It was good though. I mean, you just want to like we basically make like a little city trip or festival trip out of it.
Yeah.
Because like, I mean, we're trying to make the risk as small as possible, of course, of having like an empty room or a shitty gig. But sometimes that just happens, and then you just need to make sure that you're in a fun place and you can have a beer and a laugh.
Yeah, I think even if we played for no one, we didn't play for a crazy amount at the start. It was still fun. It's like, it's just a way of traveling.
It's never been
style.
really shit like, for us. I mean, I've had like gigs in the past with bands. I mean, and that just happens as well. That you're literally playing for the sound guy and the woman behind the bar. And I mean, still you have to do it and you enjoy it like somehow.
It's practice.
But it's a bit it can be a bit frustrating, you know?
Yeah.
And we've never really had that, and I hope it's not coming because I don't miss that.
Jinx it.
Yeah, I mean, you have that element of like, we've rehearsed so much for this live event and like this is when it happens, but the streaming platform system kind of takes the pressure off for that, if that makes sense. What's the experience been like recording? Where are you recording? How quickly has it gone? Have you had problems where you've been like, we just fucked up, like we have to go back and book out the studio again?
Yeah, I mean, we've only done it we've done a few bits. We did like Sleep Seducers started, that was like the first single I guess we put out totally as a band. And that actually, we were at Castellian Springs for a bit of it. We did actually most of it on our own, and then I went to Castellian Springs to master it, and they're like, we should re-record these drums, like, you're not going to be happy with these. And I was like, fair enough, I'm
How did you record the drums? Like in a rehearsal space?
Yeah,
with a vocal mic?
That's how we did it initially. We did like just 2 mics, like it wasn't anything it was the least fancy.
Yeah.
I was happy with it, but it definitely was not going to sound good in like a really nice mastered recording.
Yeah.
Then we redid the drums there and put that together. I think they also they did the full master. That's the small secret, is that track is actually mastered a little bit differently than the rest of the tracks, if you hear it. But for the rest of the tracks, we did it in like one fell swoop. I guess 2 fell swoops, kind of. But mainly, we went to Barack's recording studio, which I wish I knew the name so I could plug him.
We'll put it here if you don't.
It was of a friend of him, really.
Yeah.
In Marzahn, in some huge Plattenbau kind of building. Mm-hmm. It was super big.
He'll have the name.
yeah. I mean, I don't even
we'll
have
put
the
it
name.
on the video and description.
So we recorded there. It was a huge place. It was super hot. I remember that. We were all too late, of course, because we were always all too late.
He had this big old GDR console as well that he was doing all like the mixing on. It was really really fancy and cool.
Yeah.
So we like spent that whole first day. I think we recorded most of the parts.
Yeah.
And then we went back and a second time to his like personal studio.
I think a couple of times though. We did
2
vocals.
times.
Oh yeah,
We did
vocals and overdubs.
Overdubs, yeah. So
Right.
like vocals, and then we did some extra guitar stuff. Did we? Yeah, I think we did some extra guitar bits as well. So
So
yeah,
it's
which
kind of
was
like picking
And
up
some
different
mixing
bits.
as well. So
some mixing. Mixing was super important. Like we went back 1 or 2 times and changed the way like we, for example, like Many Hours. Initially, it came out a bit more like rock than I would have wanted,
Right.
and so we ended up like putting the room mic in the track more and like turning it into more of like this like post-punky feel, which like was like amazing. Like it was like really
I mean,
nice
I was quite happy with the initial result, but then I mean, you had a very strong opinion on it,
It's
which
important
in
to
the
mix
end I appreciate a lot because
Yeah.
it got so much better.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's just sounded like how I used to record, you know,
Right.
like clean and very, you know.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we wanted like now it's a bit more like that kind of strokesy, roomy,
Yeah.
like
more texture in it.
SM57 kind of vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's like in little bits and then compiling it all together.
Yeah.
But for mixing, yeah, that's super important to have that like very clear vision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And-
and I'm super happy we split it up into multiple days of doing
Right.
that stuff. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
It's got to be done. Mixing
took so long, and you're just wrecked by the end of it, and you're gonna start like making compromises on the decision. And like maybe the most important part is the mixing. To be honest,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, and we're just very lucky that Barack gave us so much time.
he did. Yeah, he
Right.
hooked us up.
Nice.
And I know him because I did a song with him for my solo project, and then we already had like exactly like a bit of the same music taste, like the overlap of like indie / electronics, and so I mean I knew it would click, and it did. So I mean he actually filled in for one of our first shows because we were playing our second show, I think. And then during soundcheck, we realized that there wasn't a sound guy.
At the sound guy was promised by the venue.
Yeah, and they were like, yeah, we can do it ourselves. And I was like, no fucking way am I going to do that ourselves. I mean, of course we could pull it up, but it's going to sound shit.
Yeah.
So I called him and he came, and that's how our love story was born.
Sound is so important live, which that's definitely something I didn't realize in the start. That sounds like, I feel like dumb to say, but literally I think it's more important to have your sound right, like the not too echoey, not too reverby.
Yep.
It's more important to do that than to play well. Like you can play like kind of mediocre if you wanted to, and like if your sound's good, people are still going to be pretty happy because people don't pick up on that. But if you sound like crap,
Or you don't hear the vocals.
like, if you don't hear the vocals the whole time, that's so noticeable. We played early on. This is actually before Voucher, I think. We played a gig behind an S-Bahn station. So there was in Charlottenburg. There's like the Charlottenburg S-Bahn. There's like this mobile kino has this. Like they show movies behind there, and our friend that I mentioned before, Ben, put on like a night with like live music and then DJs, and we're like, okay, which way will we point the amps into this like brick section, or will we point it outwards? And we're like, oh, like into this brick section sounds great. There's so much reverb, and it's like dream poppy. It was a huge mistake because everything was so reverby, and like the whole thing, it basically like everything had a slap back, like it almost like the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
So you drowned.
it was, and
the
so
verb.
like I like you only hear it when you look at the iPhone videos after, and you're like, oh God.
Yeah.
But it was such a cool gig, and then it was like, oh crap, we can't really use the videos from this because the sound is like ridiculous.
And it's so gutting when you come off stage and you finish the gig and you're like, oh, I couldn't really hear the guitar.
Yeah.
Especially if you're the guitar player and you're like, oh, what?
Yeah, I'm getting so good at playing my instrument without hearing any of it from the whole, like specifically my synth, because it's got these low frequencies, and it'll just be like the guitars cut through it, and it's like God, these keys look right, so hopefully they are. You know,
especially dependent on the venue. Sometimes you get sound guys that just don't give a
I mean,
fuck.
Paradiso was a dream for that. Because like Paradiso is like a proper venue, you know, like I saw the Libertines there and Falls, like that's, and they have a little festival in summer, so it's a bit of cheating. like they have a little festival and they turn it into a bar, and that's where we played.
Like local acts can play there.
But you actually play in the main hall of that church. You know, it's an old church. It's a beautiful building.
It's very cool. Everyone, you have loads of space.
They take it so seriously as well.
Amazing.
The guys behind, you know, the soundboard and the lights. So and you have like we had our own dressing room, like it.
Yeah.
I also feel like it's very easy to focus on because you so often get sound guys that have like just the worst energy where they're coming in. They're like, I don't give a fuck about you as a band.
We didn't have
but
loads of bad ones though.
We've been pretty lucky when we have the sound guy. That's the thing. We've just not had sound guys like a lot of the time.
But when you get a good one, it's amazing.
Yeah, 100%, and
100%.
Barack, we asked Barack quite a lot. I mean, I remember Wowsville, we played in Kreuzberg, super small room. I think one speaker, but he managed to like a three-track kind of soundboard, and he managed to make it sound so good,
really good down there.
which is so weird, like such a small room, and it like
Do you have any dream venues that you want to in Berlin, especially that you are looking to try to get into?
Well, we're doing Schokoladen. That's coming up. I'm very excited to play.
That was a dream.
This is just maybe this is a stupid question, but is it Schokoladen or is it Schokoladen like chocolates or Schokoladen like chocolate shop?
I think it's a bit of old German wordplay. You know, they love that here.
Yeah.
So,
anyway.
Don't ask me. To be honest, like.
But yeah, I mean, that was like our big... that was what we said like a year ago. We definitely want to play there, and that's happening. So that's good.
Mm-hmm. I'd love to play Lido. I've seen a few bands at Lido, and for something about Lido makes me like it's kind of like
it's not something. It's the disco ball.
It's kind of like it feels like a 1980s place. I would have like go to prom or something, and I really like. It's like kind of big and open. It just seems like a really cool spot to play. Yeah,
we basically would love to do like support acts at some point.
Yeah, I'd say that's our next step. Like with at least from like a live side. Like I think there's honestly like there's two sides of like moving your band forward if you want to, of like the viral content side or like getting found on Spotify.
The digital side,
digital side, and then there's like doing the scene and like doing stuff locally. So I think from that side would be like playing support acts or like I guess maybe going on a label, but I'm not really sure how that works. I think the label game has kind of changed in the last 10 years.
Yeah, it's streaming, right?
Yeah. Like I think we need, I guess we need like kind of promotion. Like we need to get gigs, I guess. So we need like a booker. But like I don't know.
There's this weird balance of like labels want bands that already have a good amount of momentum behind them. Mm-hmm. Just like at that point, if you already have to make the momentum yourself, why are you signing? Because it's already there.
Yeah. I mean, organizing our own gigs is not a problem. Even in other cities, like we're getting it done. I mean, of course, it takes work and time, but that's working. But it's more like getting on the more bigger stages, like the support, the support stuff mainly.
When you say doing support, you mean supporting other bands? Or
supporting other bands. Like, I mean, we would never. I mean, not never, but we wouldn't feel Lido ourselves. You know, no. But we could. I mean, I think we would be a fun support band. Like, not because we're so good, but it's just fun to watch, I think.
Mm-hmm.
There's like that egg dude in Berlin. I feel like have you seen him? The guy who's like he's like an egg and he dances around. He's like a support act. I've seen him support some things.
But what does he support? I've never seen an egg.
He's supporting something. This guy exists, I'm telling you. And he's made an impression on me by being like a dancing full egg.
Well, that's the challenge as a support act, to make an impression so people remember. And he's done it.
Yeah.
I mean, just thinking about sound and trying to get the right thing going. I can't remember where I read it, but when I was doing my research, it came up as post-pop is the genre that you put yourself under.
Oh, yeah.
Post office indie pop.
Corporate.
What is post-pop?
Bedroom. Well, it's a mix of like post-punk and then post-pop, to be honest.
I think, especially you would love to be really post-punk, but we're way too happy for that.
Yeah, and lots of pop. Like, we're not doing a 4-chord, big power chordy bits.
I mean, some songs are.
And so it's tough
Joy
to say.
Division song.
Like, I think it's like trying to navigate playing multiple genres.
Yeah.
Is the way that we're saying it. Like, we do lots of like this poppy stuff, which I would say is like more DIY pop is like the way that I want to move for it, and I think we all do. But then there's like this punky side, and it's like really like dance punk kind of thing that I love. Like the LCD sound system kind of is more dancey. It's not as
like
punky,
that.
but like I also love like Surf Curse and like people like that. So trying to find some happy medium of it being like it has that bit of anger or like a bit of like frustration that I think punk embodies, but it's also got these like cute melodies, and sometimes it's very chill, which is like what pop has. So
I mean, I'm definitely like a more indie rock / pop guy, like in the sense of like the bands I play in were like indie rock, bit of garage maybe, but mostly like indie rock. And then my singer-songwriter project was more like influenced by like acoustic stuff. So I think it's a bit of that combined with your background, and Rory basically loves both of those genres, and Uli has also like a super wide taste.
They just love music.
Yeah, and I think like the bands,
that's the dream for the band members.
Love music, which is
the
great.
bands we really find ourselves in, like which is like the common grounds, like the Strokes, I would say. Joy Division, MGMT, Metronomy, like those
MGMT
four
was what I was
bands.
gonna say is
Big time, huge for me. Like that would be like one of my first bands. I even think I saw. I remember learning at that show what MDMA was, or because like I was like in high school and I went up. It was in Allentown, in like my shithole town next to me, and it was like not a cool venue. It was like an outdoor festival venue. Not many people were there from GMT. They were a bit smaller, but like just after probably Oracular Spectacular. And this girl had a pacifier in, like a sucker.
it's pretty chill.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my God, what is that for? And she's like, I'm on E. And I was like, what the fuck?
You took it?
No, I didn't. Not that cool. I was like, I must have been like 14 or something. I mean, I was doing.
Could have been a cool first.
I was smoking weed by then. I was smoking weed by then, but I don't think E was
That's
in my
a big jump.
my sphere. Yeah. I think if you want to watch a band squirm on your podcast, you should ask them what genre they are.
Yes.
Every time.
Yeah, especially the one that stands out to me is always, not just on the podcast, but always singer-songwriters that are all, like, I would immediately be like, oh, it's alternative music. They're always like, oh, I don't really have a genre. They're like, yeah, you do. It's alternative music.
But that's what you kind of have to do.
And most of it is just pop, to be honest. Like,
and genres don't lie. They don't really exist. It's just a marketing system, which is really useful. So for us, if you're watching the podcast, when someone says what genre they are, that's really useful for viewers to be like, oh, I could be interested.
Or just say you make pop music, because we all do in the end.
Yeah.
Like most bands make pop music.
But I think it's the worst thing you can say.
Yeah, of course, but it's
they listen to pop music.
It is the inconvenient truth, though, in the end. That even like Arctic Monkeys make pop music, and Oasis, and even Nirvana made pop music, in some kind of way.
Yeah.
It's the same with me. I always say hip hop R&B, but like it's the most selling.
You're a
I
pop
make
artist.
the most selling genre. Like
I really think there's like kind of this is like another way to look at making music if you want to. So you can look at it from an artistic point of view of like this just came out. I noodled around on the guitar and like that sounds cool. I'm just gonna kind of keep going at this, and like that comes out as Connor or like as Corp, whichever if we all worked on it, right? But then you can also go backwards, which honestly is probably what you should do if you want to get like big. Is go find your playlist. I want to sound like this playlist or this band. Then you make your song like and copy that, and like that sounds super lame,
super boring.
But you can do this. I feel like as a professional artist. So I'm speaking as someone who never does this, funny enough. But I think you could do it in a cool way, because graphic designers, to become really good, they go and copy someone that they want to like, that they love their style. Like the same with like, you can do this in any medium to get really good. And like, you can do it as a musician probably to work on your chops, 100%. Especially like people doing, like DJs do it all the time, like producers. We could do this as well. I don't think we want to, but like if we want to sound more like Surf Curse and get really big I feel like Mac DeMarco, like everyone's done this to Mac DeMarco. All indie music sounds like Mac DeMarco.
Tame Impala as well, though.
7 years.
Tame Impala is like the go-to band. What are you inspired by?
So,
Tame Impala.
I definitely wonder if there's like some sort of like cheeky hack that you should be doing where like, just like your first album, go and just get like a lot of plays and then go
Just sound like
then become yourself.
It sounds like Is This It with a synthesizer.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just literally take almost, which it's super lame, but sometimes you get really cynical.
But also
with
mixing,
marketing.
You will never meet a professional mixing engineer that says like don't use reference tracks. Every single one of them does it, and
100%.
And we have to do.
God, that was such a struggle for us.
Yeah.
What do you want to listen? What do you want to sound like? It's like I want this and this and this.
Because they don't ask which songs do you like. You know, it's more like how loud are the drums, how loud are the vocals, how much reverb is on that. So you have to listen to, and still you revisit like bands you like, and then you think, okay, what do we want from this, you know?
Yeah, and then you start to hate it after so many plays because you played it for 20 loops, and now there's definitely like a half-life on there too, where you can only listen to it so much and still like it.
Yeah. We're coming up on just under an hour, so we should probably cut it off a little bit. But is there anything you want to promote? The Schokoladen show?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
REP.
Okay, we can do both. So one, we released that EP that you mentioned, employee orientation. That's 3.5 tracks if you include the intro, which we copied from the XX intro.
But also,
we copied the title.
I'm Not Cute, I'm Handsome is almost a track and a half.
So I would say it's 4 tracks.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
It's an album.
And then, and then April 19th, we're playing Schokoladen with Kitty Solaris. So that's going to be Serious Lo-Fi Wednesday coming up.
Yeah, nice. And your solo project, you never mentioned the name of. What, if you want to promote it, if you don't, it's fine.
It's just my name, Wouter Marijnen, which is going to be hell for everyone who's listening to this.
It'll be in the description. You can find it there. Yeah, great. Well, thank you very much for coming on. I had a really good time. And yeah, that's it.
Thanks so much, Logan.
Cheers.